If a man can't see the sight of a woman's hair without being so distracted, then that's on him. He should probably stay home. Hey there, Marian here. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm gonna be sharing all the secrets of my hair. Yes, my hair. And talking about why Jewish women either do or do not cover their hair, which ones do, which ones don't, how they do it, where did it come from, and talking all about it. So if you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up to let me know you want more content like this. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Marian and I make videos about being a mom and being a Jewish mom, and I would love to have you as one of my subscribers. Just hit that red subscribe button down below. So let's jump in. Jewish hair covering. I'm covering this topic because it is one of the most asked questions I get. Is that your real hair? Are you covering your hair? Why aren't you covering your hair? Etc. So it's time. I'm just gonna put it all out there. So let's start with, why do Jewish women, asterisk, why do some Jewish women cover their hair and others do not? So the Jewish value behind head covering and covering in general is modesty. Modesty is a very important Jewish value, a very important aspect of the family unit and family values and the sanctity that marriage is held in. So when a Jewish woman gets married, in some communities it is traditional that she covers her hair to show respect for her husband and to show that she is keeping her most attractive or one of her most attractive qualities just for him. So there's this element of privacy and modesty just for in the home and just for her husband. So this tradition goes all the way back to the Bible, and there are sources within the Torah that sort of touch on this, but most of the actual restrictions and rules and exact dynamics of how this is done is not from the Torah. And there are actually many scholars who say that this is not biblical at all, and that it's just a historical thing that we've held on to. So let me get into it. In the Torah, there is a story where a judge deems that a woman was unfaithful. She had an affair. And in the writing of the Torah, it says that the judge uncovered her hair or unbraided her hair as a way of embarrassing her after she had been tried for this. So from that line, scholars and rabbis have said that, well, if the judge uncovered or unbraided her hair, we can logically assume that biblical Jewish women covered their hair normally. So that's the Bible verse that stems from. But a lot of Judaism is oral Torah, which means that there's a long history and tradition of Jewish law that isn't in the Bible or Torah itself, but has been written by rabbis throughout the ages. And they've used that section, but there's also been many other rulings by rabbis that have said Jewish women must cover their hair. One thing that's interesting to note is there are also some references to facial covering, but Jewish women do not cover their face. So as much as we can look to the Torah as a guide for what Jews have done in the past, there's also this necessity to rely on rabbis and our oral Torah and Jewish laws that have been written down since the Torah, because it's not so easy as being like, oh look, there it is, you know, like the 10 Commandments right there. That's what it means. Another important thing to note is that it was never about making a woman appear ugly or not beautiful. Jewish women are allowed to dress and look as beautiful as they like, and many Jewish women do. They'll have jewelry and makeup, and although they won't dress provocatively, there's still an element of modesty. Many Jewish women are extremely beautiful and look extremely beautiful out and about around the town. Another really interesting practice is that today in circles where Jewish women cover their hair, most of them wear a sheitel or a wig to cover their hair, which obviously begs the immediate question of, if Jewish women are covering their hair so that people know that they're married and to be modest, why are they covering it with something that looks exactly like hair? And some will say actually looks better than natural hair. And there's been a lot of debate about this, and what the rabbis have determined is that although a wig looks like hair, it's not about whether or not Jewish women look like their hair is showing, it's about whether it is actually showing. Therefore, it's okay for them to wear a wig. Also, some Jewish women in really religious communities will actually purposely wear like headbands or hats or different things that make it more clear that their sheitel is a wig. So there's a lot of variation in the wigs. There's also a lot of huge price difference in various wigs, but some women want it to look very natural and like it is their own hair, whereas others want it to make it really clear that it is a wig. They just don't want to look sort of very out of place with normal society or with the rest of society by wearing like a head covering rather than a wig. So this gets into the idea of communal norms and why the conservative and reform movement have totally done away with women covering their hair. So the conservative and reform movements of Judaism said that it is no longer a societal norm that showing your hair is somehow like super attractive or immodest, right? Like everyone does it, so if a Jewish woman does it too, it doesn't make it any more immodest or immoral to show your hair. Whereas thousands of years ago, it was more of a norm for everyone to cover their hair, so it was just in keeping with the communal standards. So this is something that's really interesting, hotly debated, and has a historical component, and whether or not you want to agree or believe it or not, that's for you to research, but that's what the conservative and reform movement have said. The other reason that the conservative and reform movement has completely done away with it is that they have made a huge push for egalitarianism and to not incorporate and to not hold on to these laws within Judaism that, by the way, like we've explained already, are not from the Torah, are not directly from God, but that man had introduced later anyways, that we're not holding on to any laws that are purposely trying to make women less equal than men or to hypersexualize women, right? Like if men can't control themselves in synagogue, right, because they're standing next to a woman, that's the man's problem, not the woman's problem. So if a man is in a situation where he is feeling like distracted by women, then he can remove himself from that situation. So that's why in a reform and conservative synagogue, there's no separate seating, right? Like if a man is that out of control that he can't be next to a woman when he's praying, then he can leave. So that's the conservative and reform take on it. And that's another element of why they did away with head covering, because if a man can't see the sight of a woman's hair without being so distracted, then that's on him. He should probably stay home. However, because there is a tradition of head covering among men as well, right? Like men wear a kippah or a hat, especially when they're praying. A lot of Jewish conservative and reform women also wear a kippah or a head covering, like a doily. There's all different kinds of ones. I'll put up some pictures when they're in synagogue or when they pray. So it's almost like, again, this push for an egalitarianism and an understanding that covering one's head is a sign of respect and a really physical element of that there's a way to do it equally between men and women. Another thing I have to share is, of course, you probably have seen the scene in Orthodox where she shaves her head after she gets married, or her head is shaved for her, and then she puts on the wig for the first time. So this is a really like dramatic, intense scene, and I just want to say that there are communities, of course, where this is done, but there are also many religious women who do not shave their head and who actually, some even show like a little bit of their hair, or like they'll wear a hat. So there's a huge like variety and differences between how people will cover their hair and what happens to their hair while it's covered, if that makes sense. And now to the part you guys have all been waiting for. Is this my real hair? Yes, it's my real hair. I mean, come on. I always laugh when people are like, is that your real hair? I'm like, does this look fake? Like, don't you think I would get a nicer wig if I could, like if it was fake? Like my hair is pretty thin, it's got grays, like, you know, if I had a wig, it would look a lot nicer. But yeah, this is my real hair. So I do not cover my hair. I never have. I don't know, not that I don't know anyone who covers their hair. Nobody within my Jewish community covers their hair. I'm a conservative Jew, so it would be very strange of me to. And I personally don't believe in it. And this is like the whole thing about conservative Judaism, is everyone thinks that their Judaism is the right way it's practiced. So I don't think that the Orthodox have it right, or that the Reform community has it right. I think we have it right. You know, everyone thinks that they're doing right. So I don't personally feel like I'm doing less than an Orthodox Jewish woman is. I just feel like she's doing it differently. They believe that nothing should change, you know, with communities changing. And some Orthodox people believe that you shouldn't update Jewish law based on like societal norms or how things change. I do. I believe that that's always been part of the tradition. So that's just to clear it up. Should I dye my grays, guys? Is it time now that y'all are examining my hair? Honestly, I washed my hair yesterday. I should have got it styled before this video. Anyways, that is my hair, all about it, and all about Jewish women covering their hair. I hope I've answered some questions and gave you something to think about. If you have any more and comments, of course, leave them in the comment section below. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!